As a very recent Capcom game enjoyer, and even then that's overselling it I think, I haven't played many of their games aside from the Street Fighters and Mega Mans. I'm also not too big of a horror fan, so Resident Evil has always been a no-go, and I have wanted to try and get into Monster Hunter. However, the learning curve was a bit too steep for me to fully invest time into it. I tend to experience their games through other creators, and one time when I was watching a Maximilian dude stream, he talked about a Strider game, which I had no idea existed despite falling in love with his design from watching a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom. So I watched a few reviews on it, and also found out there are quite a few Strider games. I kind of just assumed he was an original character for MVC. This is what I get for not being cultured. Anyway, I ended up buying the game when it was on sale for really cheap, and having not played a Metroidvania since Ori and the Blind Forest, I was excited to scratch that itch again. So, without further ado, let's dive into Strider. Not like that. You ever just play a game and know within the first few minutes that you're gonna like it? That was me with Strider. The game has a cold open with Strider just diving into Kazakh City as he gets shot at by soldiers, and you're left to figure out what the buttons on your damn controller do yourself. However, one thing is abundantly clear from the start. This game makes you feel like Kiryu Strider by being pretty fast paced, and swinging your sword as fast as your little fingers can mash that button makes combat feel very satisfying as you just run and cut through soldiers and robots like they're butter. The beginning eases you into the combat by making the enemies a joke and making the first boss relatively simple, but the game does actually get kind of difficult once you progress to new areas. Some bosses you fight will become regular enemies afterwards, which gives a nice sense of progression and that you are actually getting stronger. Although some enemies do end up being annoying to fight, like this section where you have to climb up a dam, but these fucking robots knock you down with every bullet. Like, Jesus Christ, let me move! Each area was fun to explore, even with just Strider's base moveset, despite being a little jank at first, but as you get more abilities like an air dash and double jump, the jank will begin to rust away and start to feel smooth. Since this is a Metroidvania, you'll be rewarded for going off the beaten path with things like concept art, challenges, intel on enemies, and upgrades for your health and energy. However, the game is fairly linear and doesn't have much backtracking like you'd expect a Metroidvania to have. The boss battles are fine, but fun regardless. I didn't find them to be challenging and usually only died once and then would beat them on my next attempt. This is gonna sound like I'm discrediting the game, and I guess I am, but the times where I did die more than once was because I was just dumb and didn't understand what it was asking from me. Unfortunately, there's quite a few reused bosses. The 4 wins have like one move that's different from one another, and so it kind of feels like you're fighting the same boss over and over again. However, the endgame bosses are pretty good. They are the most challenging and easily the best part of the bad endgame. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with the final like 20% of this game. Fucking platforms that invert your controls and entire sections where they're inverted. Like, we need to stop doing this. It's never good and never will be good. Please stop. Also, the most obnoxious groups of enemies to ever exist. Every single move they do knocks you down, and apparently no one knew what invulnerability is, so I just get pummeled every single time, or had a laser just fucking up my LASIK surgery. I will be completely transparent and say I didn't beat Strider because the final 20 minutes of the game was just so poorly designed and not fun that I was like, fuck it, this is good enough for a review. Despite Mr. Angerman, aka me, not enjoying the end very much, as I'm sure I made clear, however, I still enjoyed the vast majority of the game, and though I left frustrated, I do still hope Capcom decides to return to this franchise. They honestly have a decent framework here, and could have something very fun if they touched up the platforming, had an actual story, and don't do whatever they did for the endgame again, or I will fight someone. Sorry that this video is on the shorter side. The game is only 4 hours long, so there wasn't a whole lot of stuff I could talk about aside from the optional missions, I guess, but I just want to do videos on any games I want, and sometimes that'll lead to shorter videos. However, it does give me more time to work on my bigger projects, which I wish I could do more often, but they take too much work and I'd end up not uploading for months on end. So I think it's better to have some smaller, not as in-depth stuff in between instead of nothing. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in whatever I decide to play next. Bye bye!